Hello, everybody. I'm super glad to be here with you, live from lockdown Paris with Lucie. How are you, Lucie?
Hi, Francois. Doing great, thank you.
Awesome. So today we are going to talk about search engine optimization, SEO. So this talk is going to be structured in this way. We are going to start to talk about SEO with traditional CMSs like WordPress and Drupal. Then talking about modern framework and how it has influenced the SEO strategy of companies. And finally, the best practices for SEO with headless CMSs. So also we have a poll live. If you can just check it out. It's about how experienced you are with SEO. It would be cool if you can just take a look. So today I'm joined with Lucie, as I said. Lucie, you're part of the developer experience team. Yeah. Me, myself, I'm a solution architect here at Prismic. So basically, I'm talking with clients, with users, and help them to implement Prismic in the best way. So we talk with users and clients on a day-to-day basis. And a recurring question that we have is a question about SEO. So for many of our clients, Google is not only a search engine, but it's also like a growth engine. So as you may know, the Google algorithm is quite complex. There is more than 200 factors that are taken into account to rank your website. So today we are not going to talk about growth hacking and stuff like that because we don't want to trick it. Because we are sure on one thing here at Prismic is that the content and the quality of the content is key for your SEO strategy. So as a CMS provider, we are in the center of that SEO strategy because basically you are going to write your content and to produce it in Prismic. We are going to host it and deliver it through an API. So today this session will focus mainly on technical on-page SEO best practices. So the goal of the session is how can you make sure that the content that you or your content editor are going to write is going to be discoverable and optimized for the search engine bots. So we're going to take a step back and talk about how SEO was handled in the past with traditional CMSs like WordPress and Drupal. What do you think, Lucie?
Well, let's rewind a bit and reflect on how we are used to handle SEO as a developer with WordPress or Drupal, basically monolithic CMSs. So how was it working is that if we take the most popular one, WordPress, of course, SEO was just about throwing a plugin in your configuration. So basically I think if you remember WordPress, we used to use Yoast SEO, which is a really powerful plugin, which was only for us developer all the SEO thing for our website, and even helping our content writer achieving great content within our old WordPress CMSs. So this was great. It was giving us a lot of guidelines and things like that. It was doing all the complex meta tags and things like that. And that was a cool thing about this monolithic structure using with WordPress. But also because WordPress was a monolithic structure, it has other some drawback due to that. So we are all aware of the plugin L on WordPress. It tends the more plugin you add, the more it's difficult to perform upgrade. The more plugin you add, it's also your website has then a tendency to become laggy or has being less performance. And while that's the drawback of WordPress, and you're having your website less performance is nowadays even more a concern because Google just introduced Core Web Vitals, and this is new metrics that Google will take into account tomorrow to rank your website based on performances and user experiences.
Yes, right. So Google officially told us that they are going to take performances and user experience as part of the ranking factors. So it's really interesting to think about it that way because it was known to be factors in the past, but now it's official. So also what we are seeing today is that people are accessing content through multiple devices. It could be laptops, it could be smartphones, it could also be vocal assistants.
Yeah. And that's a really great thing because if we switch to using modern frameworks nowadays, which comes with all these performance things that Google is now looking for when evaluating our website, is that we are basically decoupling from the monolithic approach decoupling to like having the front end on one side, the back end on another side. So you can have like your website built with React and have an application built with Flutter, for example, for your website, and even have like an Alexa API like to answer questions on Alexa device or Google Home and everything. So that's really great because like it empowers us developers to choose the technology that we'd like to work with for the front end, but also for the back end. Indeed, like we can now like pick in the backend, like there are like a lot of services as a software around. So for managing content, you have Prismic, of course, you have others, but also like if you want to manage assets, like you have Cloudinary, you have Imagex. If you want to manage forms, you have like Typeform, for example. Like there's a lot of tools that we can now use as developer to like just provide us the best experience, like developing the website, but also provide our like marketing team the best experience, like doing their job as a marketing team. This is also like but yeah, so basically like we have a lot of shows now as a developer. We can work like with the technology we like to work with, but the drawback of that is that it's now our job as developer like to make the link between like all those technologies. So we have to link the front, the back. We have to link like all the services we are using together. So it's it brings like to us like a lot of things to do, and SEO is one of them because like we don't have Yoast SEO anymore on our website, so we have to handle like SEO as developers like manually, and this can sound like really daunting, but it's actually as we'll see like later on, it's not like as complicated as it sounds.
Yeah, right. Also, I forgot to mention it at the beginning, but if you have any question during this session, do not hesitate to ask it directly in the chat. We'll have like a Q&A by the end of this talk, so we can answer them at that moment. So what you said, Lucie, makes sense. So moving away from that monolithic approach and going to something a bit more modular is really important now for developers. And this leads also to have the content that is not longer tied to the front. So one of the big things is where Headless CMS has come, is that you are going to have that content separated. And when you are working with a Headless CMS, basically you will have to choose a framework. And when choosing that framework, one really important thing is the rendering method of your framework. There is a huge amount of developer using SPA today, but there is one problem with it: the fact that it's the most of SPA framework are client-side rendered.
Yeah, so basically like SPA is kind of like the default when you start using like React, Vue, or even Angular. Like what SPA is that like when you build your app, it will give you like a simple like index.html file. You ship it like on a CDN or something like that, and then like every client will that it's your website will download like this index.html file, and this index.html file will tell him like what it needs to do like to actually render the page is asking for. So this is great, but like the client has to do all the work of like figuring out like which route we are on, what content we need to display on this route, and things like that. So this takes some time on the client side, and this is something that Google is really like not fond of, because like it then has like to run a lot of JavaScript in order to figure out like what your page is displaying. And while this is not like blocking to have SEO, this will considerably slow down like your time to SEO, let's say, when you are deploying an SPA app as a company website.
Yeah, exactly. So what you said is that with this empty shell HTML, basically we are making the life of the search engine crawler a bit more complicated. Because what's happening is that when the crawler is going to come to your website, it's going to see that empty file only with one JS file included. So it's going to take that website, put it in a queue, so that it can browse it later and crawl it when the JavaScript render the content. So basically, as I said, we are making the life of the search engine crawler difficult, and that's something that we don't really want to do as a SEO and as developer when we want to optimize that. But the good news here is that there are solutions to that. There are two big solutions, and the first one is server-side rendering.
Yes. So server-side rendering is basically like really similar to what we used to do in the past with a PHP website, for example. So what server-side rendering is that when someone like hits your website, your server like will understand its request, like figure out like which content it needs to display on this request, and build like the markup on the server side. So in order like this will be done like in order to ship like an actual HTML page to the client. So the client has just like to read and understand HTML. So this pleases Google really well because Google has not JavaScript to run, and it's only need like to read through your HTML and understand what your page is about. So only like really small drawback to that is that you have like to wait for the server to actually like render your page and ship it to the client, which is something that can matter for performances. And there's the last method that we'll talk about, which deals like with this latency that is involved.
Yes. So basically here what's happening is that you have your client browser who is going to request the server, and the server is going to give back the HTML, CSS, and JS files directly computed. So this is pretty great. As you said, the problem is the performances here because it can take some time for the server to do that rendering. And also one thing about performances is that we obviously want to improve it for the search engine because we want it to see our website as fast and quick so that it can rank it well. But also performances that we do for the search engine crawler, we do it also for the users. So when we are working toward having a better website is to have a better SEO, but also a better user experience. So the second option that you can take as a developer when you want to work with a single page application and having it SEO friendly is going to use a static site generator, right?
Yeah. So yeah, basically again, like what a static site generator is doing is that whenever there's a change to your content, it will like spin up a CI and like rebuild your whole website as a static like HTML file, and those static HTML file you will be able like to ship them on a CDN to like to being able like to distribute them like to every visitor to your website. This is really great because like every like all the markup generation thing is doing like prior to any request, so the client don't have to wait for anything, like just like downloading the file actually. So this makes like the best of both worlds, let's say, to have like both performance, so there's no latency. You only need like to ship ship like your page to the client, and the client has already like pre-made HTML file.
Yeah, so this is a pretty great solution for SEO, basically because you are really close from the client. You are hosting CSS, HTML, and JS files. This is pretty easy also to host because you just have to drop it on any hosting platform like Netlify or Vercel. Then you serve it through a CDN and you have like blazing fast performances, right?
Yep.
But there is also one downside to this approach it's the build time.
Yeah, well, build time is like the only like drawback of having like a statically generated website. The issue with build time is that it can take like really a while for some website. Like if your website is really big, is a multilingual website or something like that, it can take like up to an hour like to build your website whenever like you change a typo on the home page, which is annoying because like you want like to deliver your update of your website like really quickly. Thankfully, like there's more and more solutions like to mitigate that and to have like a really short build time. And there's even like really innovative solution like for WordPress, for example. No, actually not for WordPress. With Vercel, like if you're using Next.js, there's like really great optimization like with incremental static generations, which allows you like to only like build like one page at a time whenever like there's a change to it, so you like never end up like with a really heavy build time.
Awesome. So yeah, to maybe recap this, so we have SSR, so server-side rendering. This is pretty great for a website with highly dynamic content. So if the content is changing a lot, this is maybe the best solution that we can recommend. And the second one, static site generation, maybe more suited for more static content, so websites with less updates on the content, so that you don't have to run a lot of builds and use resources to deploy everything. So these are the best two solutions to do SEO with modern day framework. And yeah, the good news is if you like Vue, we have Nuxt.js that is providing SSR and SSG, and same for React developer. If you're into React, we have Next.js and also Gatsby who do that kind of rendering. So I think now it's time to go back to the concrete stuff. We are talking about the key concept of technical on-page SEO and how to achieve them with Prismic. Also, we are having a poll right now about the type of rendering that you are implementing today for your SEO strategy. So we'd be super curious to know how do you handle it today, if it's simple CSR or server-side rendering or static site generation. So it's in the poll section in the chat. So now we are going to cover these best practices in live coding right now with Lucie. So the first thing that we are going to cover here is one of the really important SEO factor is the XML sitemap. So basically the mapping of all the links that you have on your website, all the pages, and this is pretty important for all the crawlers, not only Google. So you are going to give them the exact structure of your website. So it makes the crawling way easier than just having the crawler who need to dig into the website and to understand all the internal linking that you have. So I think, Lucie, you are going to demonstrate it now with a code, like how to generate an XML sitemap with a Headless CMS like Prismic in pure Node.js.
Yes. So yeah, let's dive in the code and I will explain you like what I will get you through. But basically our goal today is to build like a simple like Node.js script that you will be able to like to run, and the output of this Node.js script will be like a sitemap.xml file. This can be used like through like your Express server, like to actually like just render it like when there's a request to your sitemap.xml file, or even like with your statically generated website at build time, like if you are into that. So yeah, so what I prepared for you right now is just like I have a really simple Prismic repository with few pages on it. It's an international website, so we have like English and French. And here I just have like 6 pages, so I have like 2 pages, one home page, one about page. I have a few blog posts and I have a few products also. So what we want to do for this website is that to generate like the sitemap.xml file for it. So in order to do that as a developer, I just like add to the API in the settings and grab my API endpoint. So for me, it just is available here. I'll copy it because I will need it later in the code. So once I have that in my keyboard, let's jump into the code. Here we go. So I just prepare like a really like simple folder. Like it's just like a simple package. I have two dependencies on it. It's Prismic JavaScript. So Prismic JavaScript is our JavaScript kit within Prismic in order like to query data of Prismic using Node.js or JavaScript. And I have a sitemap module, which is like a simple like Node.js sitemap package that you can use like in order to generate the sitemap.xml with it. So here I just have an index.js, and this index I just have like a run function which will like performs like actually like generating our sitemap, and that's what we'll go through today. So as you can see, if I get to my terminal, I can run node slc index, and by doing that, it just run my index file. So there's nothing in it right now, but let's actually like start making few things with it. So the first thing we need to do, like because like we need to generate like a sitemap out of our Prismic content, I will need like to actually like import the Prismic JavaScript kit. So to do that, I will do something like really simple, a simple node import. So I will make const Prismic equal require Prismic JavaScript. So this is done. Now I have Prismic, and the first thing I need to actually do is to init my Prismic API. So to init the API, I will declare a const set API, and I will await the declaration of my API. So it's prismic.getAPI, and inside it I just passed actually like my endpoint as a string that I copied earlier on my Prismic settings. So once I did that, I can actually like already like log my API. I can run my script again, and as you can see here, we got like our API response with like the ref of my API, the language available in it, and so we are ready to like start creating content within Prismic now. So actually, like the second thing that we want to do is to create our content in Prismic. So to query my content in Prismic, again, it's like really simple. I just like take like a result constant, and I will like again await my API. So it's this time it's API.query because I need to use like the APIs that I just inherited like the line before. And what I will do, like I will just like pass no params, so I will like just query everything from my API. So again, like by having that, I can like log result instead of API, it's save. And I run my script again. And now I have like my API response with all my documents. So you can see like we have like classic notebook, which was one of my products. As you can see here, I have classic notebook, and I have like the five other pages that I have within my Prismic API.
So here to recap, you created a quick script that is going to connect to your Prismic repository. You are going to query all the documents so that you can basically crawl your Prismic API to get all these documents, right?
Exactly. So what I do now is that within my documents, I just need like to actually like get like the result key out of it. So if we inspect a bit like what I printed, like it gave me back an object, and I would just need like the object thing. So let's just like extract the object from it. So it will be like results. And I will just, for convenience, rename it like object using like the notation in JavaScript. So this way I rename like my result key to docs. So now I can just deal with docs, and I have docs here. I hit save again, and here we just have our like array of documents within Prismic. So that's great. Now what we can do is that like the first thing we need to do is like, because like we have all our documents, to build our sitemap, what we need is to like actually like get the URL. And to get the URL, like to actually like resolve the URL within Prismic, we have a feature called, well, not a feature, but there's something like we can do, which is called like a link resolver. So a link resolver is like just a quick function that take your document as input and returns the URL of this document. So let's actually implement together a link resolver, and because this will be our first step, is to resolve our link.
Also, for people wondering, this is recorded, and you'll be able to watch the video after this live event. Exactly. If you want to reproduce it at home.
And at the end of the demo, I will also show you the GitHub repository where you can like watch the code again, like step by step, and understand like what was going on. If I was too quick, I don't know. So yeah, what we'll do here is just like having again like another const, which is called like URLs, and we will feed it like by looping over our document. So we'll do my document.map, and here I will map through my link resolver. So link resolver is a function that doesn't exist yet, but we will create it together. So a link resolver, as I said, is just a function, which here I name link resolver. You can name it whatever you want. And this function take as input a document, and it will return like a link according like to this document type. Because like as I showed you earlier, like we have different document type. Like we have pages, we have product, we have blog post, and we don't want the same URL for all those documents. So we can do that within our link resolver. To do this, I will use like a switch statement. And in this statement, I will like, depending on the document.type, I will return like a different kind of value. So the first type I have is page. So for page type document, this one I just want like to return actually like the slash like the doc.uid. I will explain what is UID after on. So here I have doc.uid. So this is done for page type. We'll do that again like for the few other types that we have. So okay, excuse me. So I will do that. I will do the same for blog post. So it's called post. So for blog post, I want like the URL to be like /blog/ the ID of the post actually. And I will do the same for product. So it's pretty similar. For product, I want like the URL like to be something like product/ the UID of the product. So now that I talked about UID, that we don't know what UID is about, so let's actually like explain below what is UID. UID basically is like the slug of your document. So the slug of your document is like something that you input like within your Prismic document. And as you can see like here, I'm on my home page and I have a field which is called UID, and it gives me like the slug of my document. So if I want to change it to something else, like actually as I write through it, you will see that when I exit it like slugify like the input that I gave it. So like this is like the slug of my document, and this is like useful like to identify your documents and to like build like beautiful URL with it like that are like search friendly for SEO. So now that we have an understanding of like what's URL or what's UID is, we can get back to our application and see like what happened with our link resolver. So actually like we're already done like with our link resolver, like it resolves like depending on page, product, post, blog post, things like that, it's done. So here if we log URL again, what we have is just like all our links. So here as you can see like we have an array with I can zoom a bit for you. So yeah, we have an array like okay. So we have an array like containing like all our links. So we have like /blog / new product announcement /product / coloring pencil /home /about /blog / we opened a new store and so on and so on. So we actually like managed to resolve our links for our application, and that's great. As I said at the beginning, here we are running like a multilingual website. So why aren't we getting like French content here? Like that's an issue that we want to tackle. So indeed, like when you query like your API like without any parameters, Prismic will by default like returns you like only the content in your master local, so your main local. So not in order to query everything for Prismic, what we can pass a few params. So the first one is our Prismic predicate, which is like just like some like condition of what documents you want to query. So here we don't want any condition, so we just like paste an empty string to it. And the second one, it's like the API options that we want to pass along our query. And here we will pass an option of lang, so for language, and we will query like every document by using like the wildcard character. By saving that, and actually like we can run again our script. And here, like you can see, like we have like all our documents. The only issues remaining is that we have all our documents, but we aren't resolving link for our French blog post. Like it has like the same link as an English blog post. So that's something like we want to have. Like we want to have, for example, like for the French blog post, to have like /fr at the beginning to like indicate that it's the French section of our website. So we will implement that together. Actually, it's like really simple. All we need to do is to update our link resolver to take that into account. So what we'll do is we have like a const, like we will declare like a const named prefix. So this prefix will look at the document.language, and if it's different, okay, let me find my exclamation mark. So if it's different from EN US, so it's like the default language is like American English. So if it's different from that, my prefix will be just excuse me. My prefix will be / so doc.uid .lang, excuse me. And if it's like ENU, if it's like American English, then I will just return a /. There we go. So doing that, like we know like we have a prefix. Now we just apply this prefix to all our previous like entry here. So yeah, actually we don't want a / for the American English. This will like cost like 2 / as we are doing it. So and here like before like every like URL that we will return, we just apply that the prefix that we defined together. So a prefix, and we copy that like through the other time. Here we go. I hit save. Now I can run again my script. And what we have, as you can see, like we have all the all the French content, which has been like prefixed with the FR, like the country code of the French content. So here, like we have like all our page that has been like correctly like resolved like through the URL, and we are able like to start using them like to actually like now that we have all the URL of our website, we can actually like start building our sitemap. Great.
So to recap here, you have a script, you connect it to your Prismic repository, query all the documents, then you need to translate this Prismic UID to a URL basically. So there you have the link resolver who is going to do that translation for you. So from UID to a real link, and then there is the problematic of multi-language. And there you tackle it with adding a prefix in your URL in the link resolver. Awesome.
Exactly. So now that we have all our URLs, what we can do is to actually like create our sitemap out of them. So to do that, I will like import our sitemap module, our sitemap package that I installed on this project. So I will import few things from it. So require sitemap. And what I will import from it, so like this is like a bit like proprietary to this like sitemap package, but like just like it's really like simple to use. So you can like watch its documentation or pick another sitemap package that you're fine with. So here I just import like the sitemap stream, which is like a function used to build like a stream from my sitemap, and the stream to promise function, which allows me like to turn my stream into a promise. So those are both functions like coming with a sitemap package that you can then use to create XML sitemap. So I have them imported, and now I can like start using them to build our sitemap. So yeah, again, like I will share like at the end of the live coding session, like the repository, so you can have a look at it. But like it's really like not that complicated. So here I have my sitemap stream. I declare like a sitemap stream constant, which is like equal to a new sitemap stream. There we go. And I will just pass it few options, like because like with the sitemap you need like to actually like give the prefix of like here like where your website is living, so it's like the base URL of your website. So I just give it like a host name, and the host name here it will be like a totally random URL. So let's say prismic.io. Okay, so once we have that, we can like actually like our sitemap stream has been ignited. What we can do is to like loop through our URLs and add them to the sitemap. So we do URLs.forEach. We'll take a URL and we create a quick function out of it. And what we'll do, it will do like sitemap stream.write. And we will pass it like few options, and I will discuss about those options later on. But what we need to do is to pass it to the URL that we extracted from our URLs array. Then we have the change flag, which is like an option of the sitemap. So here we just say that all our page which change like on a weekly basis, and then we have the priority again here. We just use like a priority of 1, so no document is more priority, is given like a higher priority than another. So we can say that, and basically what we did here is that we created our sitemap stream. We fed it like all our URLs with like a default config, and once we did that, like we are already done with creating our sitemap. What we can then do is to get our sitemap data, and what we'll do is to await like the stream to promise, which is like the function like to convert our stream to a promise, and we give it like our sitemap stream. This is like the little bit like really technical part of the live coding, but like it's not really complicated as it seems. So once we did that, like in our sitemap data, we have like a promise which is like equal like to the result, like to our stream being resolved, and what we can do to that is to like actually like log it. So we'll do like sitemap data .toString, because like it's not a string, so it's a buffer, so you have like to convert it to string. But if we log that now, okay, I messed up. It's sitemap dat, not date. Here we go. I can save it again. Okay, again, this is like the part sitemap data toString.
In the meantime, I'm reading here a question in the chat from Cécile Journeau. Hi, Cécile. If we build our URLs based on our UIDs, if we change the UID in the future, is there a way to automatically redirect them to the old one? So basically in Prismic, UIDs are unique, and we keep them in memory. So basically, if you change it, the UID will not be broken, so you'll still be able to query your document with the old UID. So you don't have to do a redirect on your site for that.
Okay, so I found my little mistake. What I forgot about is to actually like end my stream, because like I was opening like a stream where I can like feed content inside it, and I forgot like to close it at the end. So just adding that, and this was done already. And now if we I just like run our script, and as you can see, like we have an XML output that we can then like write to a file. So let's do that quickly. So we'll do like fs. So we'll call like the file system library, which is like a default like library available within another runtime. So we'll import file system quickly, and yeah, what we'll do is we'll do file system dot write file sync, because we don't want like to await something. We'll just like output at the same level our sitemap.xml file. We'll give it our sitemap data. And we'll just say that it's a UTF-8 encoding like for our file. We can save that. We can run our script again. everything went fine. And as you can see, like we just like created a sitemap.xml file, which is like the sitemap containing like all our like URL from our website. So this is great. We created like within like 20 minutes, let's say, a really like simple script. So it's like it's like a 60-line script, which allows you like to query all your documents from Prismic and to actually like create a sitemap out of them by resolving their URL and inputting them like inside an XML file. Of course, like as you can see here, just input like default like value, but you can go like really fancy with sitemap by having like, for example, like tree of sitemap, or even like having like different like frequency change within like different type of files. So perhaps like, for example, like you want to update your blog daily, so you had like a change rate of daily for the blog post, but you can update like your home page like on a monthly basis, and you want like, for example, like to update your product section of your website on a weekly basis. So like it's really like up to you like to define like on which basis, like what priority you want to give like to your site, to your URL in your sitemap, and that will like improve like Google discoverability of your website basically.
Yeah, indeed. The sitemap can be really granular in the approach, so you can have, as you said, like many add-ons to make it more granular for the crawlers. So that was super interesting and super nice to see it, that you can build it pretty quickly. Actually, so now I'm reading through the question that we have in the chat. We have something from Gatien OJ, like are schema.org microdata, like article, breadcrumb, events, a native feature on Prismic. So basically, it's not like a native feature as you can expect from a Yoast SEO plugin or something like that, but you can definitely implement them in Prismic. Maybe we can talk about it.
Actually, structured data are part of like the meta tags things that all the things that you want to add inside your the head section of your website. So that's really great because like we have now a quick segment, which is about like handling meta tags within Prismic. So I will show you like how to add like the basic things. So it's actually like just a meta image and a meta description, but I will like tell you like how you can do it like with the structured data. So I think we can dive into the second demo.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to talk about metadata. So the most important one, as you all know, I guess, is the title, meta description, because it's going basically to make your page standing out in the results. So pretty important to have them. We're also going to maybe showcase canonical meta tags to avoid the duplication of content. So you're going to do this one with Nuxt, right?
Yeah. So here, like the first part of the demo was like only like a node thing, so you can apply this script like to at the build time of either like a React application or a Nuxt application. Of course, if you're coming like from a Nuxt background, like there's some like already like plugins that exist that like do like most of the work of generating this sitemap, but like this is like still like something useful to have in mind, like if you're using a framework that doesn't like have already like a plugin to build your sitemap. So right now we can dive into the code again. So I just like add to another directory which contains like a default Nuxt application for meta tags, and I will just like run this application. So again, like here I will be using Nuxt, but like they're like the approach is like really the same like for React, for Angular, or for whatever framework you are using. Just like there will be like a small bite of like Nuxt code, but like really like don't stick to it if you're not a Nuxt person. That's not an issue. So here I just ran my server, so it opened here on port 3000, but like there's nothing to it actually, like we don't care about it. So what we'll do is that like how do we handle meta tags within Prismic? Basically within Prismic you have the ability like to define your custom types. So like I have a custom types for my pages, I have custom type for my blog post, and one for my product. What is like a really common pattern within Prismic is that within this custom type definition is to have like a meta tab, that because like you can have tab within like the field that you add to your custom types. So you have like a meta tabs, and in this meta tabs you can like as many things as you like to like actually like handle meta description to handle like meta tags on your website. So here I just added like a simple like meta title, meta description, and a meta image, which is actually like called image. No, it's called meta image, right? So this is really great. And if you'd like, for example, like to have like really like complex structured data, what you can do is to either like add other field like to actually fill the structured data. So here I know that I'm on a page, so I don't have much structured data to add to it. But if I this card might change and go to the product page. There's a lot of like structured data that you can use like to actually have your product showing on Google Shopping, for example, or things like that. So you can like spend some time to actually like enhance your meta tab for the product custom types, and add like all the feeds that you want to have like on your structured data for a product. Okay, so like this is the general idea. And what I did then for every of my page, if I get back to my repository. Okay, internet is a bit slow. Okay, here we go. So if I get back, like for example, if I visit my home page, because here we work with our home page, but the like just like depends on the document you query. But if I get like to my meta tab, you can see like the title of my page is just home. Description is we craft beautiful things, and I have a beautiful image of a plant because that's the me content. So yeah, so actually like let's just dive into the code a bit and see like what we can do like to actually like display those like as meta tags within Nuxt. So what we'll do is just like use the async data hook to like, well, the first thing we need to do is to actually like, if we want like to display those data on our website, we need to query them. So we'll use like the async data Nuxt hook, which is like a hook like to fetch data on Nuxt pages. And inside this hook, I will just like query my document. So here I just query the home document because I'm on the index page. So I just have document, and I will await, and what I receive like as an argument for this function from this function is a $prismic object, which is like our Prismic API, which has been already resolved. So we don't have like to init our API like we did with our Node.js script within Nuxt, because it has already been done. Like if you're using the Nuxt module for Prismic. So here we'll have like Prismic.api. And we will like get by UID. So again, like as I explained earlier, UID are just like slug and unique identifier for a document, so you can like build URL with them. So I will get by UID, and the UID I will get, well, actually I need to give the type of the UID I'm querying. So it's a page, and the UID I'm using is home.
So here to recap a little bit. So basically you are handling the content directly in Prismic, so the value of your meta tags, so here title, description, and image, and you are going to query it directly in your document in Nuxt to get this value and then insert them in the right meta tags.
Exactly. So here, once I query like my document, I can just like here I just like set up a quick like thing like to display my document. So I just like input like the document.data, which contains like all the field from my page. So doing that, I can get back to my application, and as you can see, like we can see like the JSON representation of my data within Prismic. So we'll have like the title, the body, like the actual content of the page, but we have also like the meta titles, meta description, and even like a few meta images, one for Twitter and one for Open Graph, which are like the two basic meta images that you want to get inside your head section. So we can actually like use those data to actually like add a few meta tags to our page. As you can see, like right now it's pretty empty, and I don't even have a title on my page. So let's actually do that. To do that with Nuxt, we have like a head section within React. Like you have a head component which allows you like to input like meta tags directly inside it, so you can like actually like conditionally render your meta tags within React. You can do the same within Nuxt. It's just like done a programmatic way. So we have our head method, and within our head method we can like actually return a format meta function which doesn't exist yet. Like we will like create it together, and what we'll give to this method is this document, which is like the document that we just create together. And what we can do now is like, because like, well, why am I creating a format meta function? Is that because like you most likely want to use like this format meta function across multiple type of pages. So if I have like, for example, an about page, I will want to use the same. If I have like a blog post, I will most likely want to use the same path with a few like other thing, like because it's a blog post, and so on and so on. So here we'll just be like creating like this format meta here, but you can like extract it wherever you'd like to, and import it on this file. So we have a format meta, which is a function that takes my document as input, and that returns like something. So for Nuxt, it returns like actually an object. So let's create this object, and what we have inside it is that we can like input like in an object representation the representation of our meta tags within our head. So the first quick thing we can do is to actually like have our title, and the title will be equal to document the data, because like we need to get the data, and then it's meta title. I can save that. I can then get back to my application. Here it has like some error because I saved it at the wrong time, but as you can see, it already like took into account like my home, which is the title that I inputted within Prismic here, home. And if we inspect like our inspector, I can see that I have a home thing. Let me zoom a bit because like that's really tiny right now. But here we go. Like I added like my home metadata. We can actually like go move on and like do the same with our meta description. So meta description, actually it's a meta, so we'll open like the meta array. And within this meta array, I will like add another meta, which is called like the meta description. So I need to give it like an HID, which is like just an identifier that Vue needs to render your meta. And so it will be description. Then I will need actually like the name of the meta description, which is description. And finally, the last thing I need to do is to actually the content of this meta. So the content is document.data.meta description. Up, can hit save, can get back to my application, and if I didn't mess up, we should see already here like our meta tag that has been generated by doing so. So we have like our meta with the name description and the content with Craft Beautiful Things, which again is like exactly what we entered within Prismic. And that's it. Like I think you got it. Like that's a general idea of like how you can like handle meta tags within Prismic. Basically, like depending on your document types, you have like all the fields that you want to have in your meta, so your content writer can fill them. And then within your application, like you define like the logics that you want like to use to actually like display those meta tags. For example, like if my content writer like forgot to talk about meta description, I can, for example, like fall back like to a default meta description for my website or something like that. That's really like up to you. You can even like, if you want like trim your meta description, if you want like to limit it like to 155 characters, if that's the limit that you agreed on. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, so it's pretty awesome because with this small piece of code, now you give the ability to your content editor to edit and to work on the meta tag by themselves, even if you're working with a single page application. So that's pretty great for your content editors. I'm going back to the question right now. I saw the question from Gatien. So as an SEO, SPA and SSR client-side rendering is making my life a real hell. So I'd be super curious why, because I have some idea why it makes it a real hell, but I'd be curious to know a bit more. We also have a question like, how do we implement accelerated mobile pages? So basically, accelerated mobile pages are a standard that Google released a few years ago. To have basically, if you follow some of their standards, you can get featured as top news and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the good thing about this is that Google also talked about that in the recent, in the future update that they're going to roll out in 2021, that you won't be obligated to use AMP to get featured as top news anymore. So you can also do it with a good website who has good core web vitals. So you're not it's not mandatory anymore. But I don't know. Do you know exactly how to implement AMP with Prismic?
Yeah, I'm not an expert about AMP, but basically like it's just like a lot of standards that you have to follow to build your application, and that's something that you can do and which doesn't like actually rely on Prismic. So there shouldn't be like any things that block you from doing so. There's just like Prismic is just like a content as a service, so you can like create content from it and doing like whatever you'd like to with it. So there shouldn't be like anything like blocking you. But Prismic doesn't provide like any kind of frameworks like to help you doing so, because I don't think like that's something we are tackling.
Yeah, as you said, I think it's more like on the framework side. Yeah. So basically, if you're doing an AMP or if you're doing any type of other web page, the content is basically going to be the same. So you're going to get it through the API, no matter if it's for an AMP or for a simple website.
Yes. I just want to answer quickly like Tanisha. So yes, this is all being recorded. And as I said, I just posted on the chat the link to my GitHub where you can find like step by step everything that I done and understand like look again over the code. But you will be like in a few days you will receive like by mails because you attended this session a link to the recording of this session if you want to watch it again.
Yes, sure. So we also have a question here from Reese. Would the next data script tags at the bottom of the files with duplicated text affect the SEO, the crawling? So I guess here you're talking about Next.js, right?
Yeah.
I'm not an expert here. I don't know if you
okay. So basically, like the next data script shouldn't impact your SEO because it's just like a JavaScript thing, and I don't think like I'm not 100% sure about it, but I don't think that Google will bother like parsing this script and understand it. And this, I think it would be if it was an issue, it would have been raised on the Next repository. So I don't think you have to worry about that. And still, like there's a lot of people, a lot of big companies using Next. So there's for example, like Roland Garros is using Next. Zenith Watch is using Next. I think it's all right.
Yeah. Just to also mention about here, the fact that the script at the bottom of the files also is good for your SEO because you're telling basically Google that it's not like mandatory content that needs to be loaded at the beginning of the query. So as you say, yeah, I don't think there is a big impact on SEO there.
Excuse me. Also, like, sorry, Rhys, I just like mismatched like Next and Nuxt, but actually like Nuxt also has like this Nuxt data at the bottom of the page. So like the both frameworks, either Vue or React, are behaving the same, but by having like this huge tag at the end of the page, and this shouldn't be an issue for SEO.
Yes. So also, if anyone have any other question, do not hesitate to ask it in the chat. I see that we have some time left, so maybe we can talk a bit about image optimization. So as we said at the beginning, performances are key today, and even more in the future with the new Google update. So the good thing with Prismic is that basically we give you image optimization out of the box. So when you create a repo, by default, everything that you're going to upload in your repo is going to be optimized for your visitors. So all the files, all the images that you upload to Prismic are going to be served through our API in the best format for your user. It's going to be compressed also and served through CDN. So basically, it's going to be super fast to load it in your framework.
Yeah, actually, if you can share my screen quickly, please. So Prismic like runs images like under the ground, like to like actually like provides you like really like powerful images through a CDN. So like when you create a Prismic repository, all your images will be hosted like on Imagix side, and Prismic will give view those images like when you actually like query content for your images from Prismic. As you can see, like if we get back to my little like meta tags next demonstration, like here I was outputting like the content of my document, so I had like my meta tags, but I also had like my meta images. And as you can see here, we have like an image coming like through images.prismic.io, which is our CDN, and then we have like actually like the unique identifier of our image, and then we have like a lot of like query parameters, which are the ways that Imagix is doing like enhancing over your images. So I can get this URL and add to a page, and as you can see like here, because I'm on Chrome, it has been super fast because like thanks to the format tag, Imagix like just served me like a WebP image. But if I was like for example on Internet Explorer or on Safari, it would have served me like a PNG or JPEG or JPEG, like, depending on the size. If we have quickly like a look at the network tab, and I refresh it again, yeah, we downloaded. It's really big. Look at the size. We have like 87 kilobyte image. If I remove like the format and compress tag, so this will serve me like a PNG. Here we go. We have like a 163 kilobyte image. So thanks to that, we are almost like dividing by 2 our image payload on Prismic by default.
Yeah, which is pretty great. So you don't have to do it by yourself in the code, adding modules and stuff like that to make that compression. So it's pretty handy to have it integrated right in the CDN.
And also one last
CMS,
thing, as you can see on the code, like you have still like few query parameters left. It's like it's actually like cropping your images. Why those query parameters are here is that because like within the definition of my meta image thing, I added few constraints to my image on the Prismic backend. So if we edit our image tag here, you can see that I limited like the first image to being like on a format that please like Facebook Open Graph data, and for the Twitter one I was like on another format which also like is like a 1:2 form ratio, which please like Twitter. And this will like reduce like crop my image and resize it like accordingly to these constraints. And this is done really nicely because once this is set up, like your content writer have now access to like a little like cropping tools that allows them like to actually like choose where they want like to crop your image to actually like just serve this part of the image like for meta tags. So I just crop it on the flower like really closely so you can see the difference. And yeah, that's the main idea of it.
Awesome. So I'm going back to the question here. So I see a question from Nicolas. So for URLs, would you recommend having all locales prefixed or not? I think it's a pretty good question. In a sense, I think it's a good practice to have like the prefix in the URL, especially for your clients at least, because at least they know in which local they are viewing the content. Also, you can use href lengths meta tags to specify to Google that you are in a specific version of a document in a separate language. So there is no problem of duplicate content in multiple language that the crawler could see. So I guess, yeah, the good practice is to have it in the URL, so the crawler see it, the user see it, and also having href lengths meta tags will help.
Yeah,
in that case.
Okay, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to answer you, Victor Albert. So the question of Victor is that is it possible to hear more about server-side rendering and or pre-rendering, and what would be like our preferred way of doing it within Nuxt, but this will also apply to Next.js, for example. So as we said earlier, like with server-side rendering, what we are doing is that you're doing all the rendering on your server. So in order to do that, you actually like need a server that run, not only like a file system that server files. So yeah, you need to run a server, and this server like needs to like, even if there's some caching things that you can turn on, this server like still need like to render all those images and be running like 24/7 in order like to make your website available. On the other side, you have like static site generation, and this is very powerful because instead of having a server, what you have is a CI which will like spin every time you make a change to a content. So there's a build time like issue that we talked a bit about and that you can like mitigate for a lot of different way. And this will just output like static HTML files that you can then serve through a CDN. By serving through a CDN, this is like something really really amazing because your content is distributed across the globe. You can like tremendously reduce like the time to first byte of your website because like it doesn't have to wait for anything. Like the content is really close to your end user, and also like you don't need like to have a server anymore. Like all you need is a CDN, and to do that you have like really amazing platform like Netlify or Vercel, which provide this service of CDN and CI. And gives you like everything out of the box, and it's really easy like to set up a website with Nuxt or Next to have them like statically generated on those platforms. So myself, I would recommend like using static site generation if your use case allowed it.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. I have a question here from Sanne Martin. So the metadata images are using the URL from Prismic. Is this allowed regarding domain restrictions? So I guess your question is about like if Google is going to take that into account in your ranking, like the fact that the metadata images are coming from another domain. Is that correct? So maybe you can answer, and we'll go back to that question after. Also, we have a question from Christian here. Will you implement categories and folders to image library to better organize uploaded images? I guess this is a frequently asked question that you are having when you're using Prismic and having quite a lot of images. It makes sense. I know that the product team is working on that, at least considering it. I don't have any idea about the ETA or anything like that, but I know that it's a recurring issue. So
yes, that's something like we are considering right now, and actually like ImageX released like a new API which allows like to manage this kind of thing. So that's something like we will definitely like be working on at some point, but it's not like it will not be cheap like in 2020 at least. And no worry, Victor, it's you're welcome.
Okay, so to get back to your question, Sanne Martin, so having the fact that you have the Prismic URL in the metadata, I'm not sure. I never heard about I never heard something about that in terms of SEO. I think I'll take a look after this session to make sure, but I don't think that it would have like a big impact in your search engine optimization. Yeah. Basically, here you are serving a pretty good quality image, compressed directly in the format that the user browser is going to need. So I don't really see how it could impact that SEO, but I'll make sure to check it after.
Yeah, no worries about that. Like regarding SEO, like the main things that you can run into like with having it on the different domain is having like course issues if you have like different like content security policies set up on your website. But on our end, like on Prismic side, everything should be good like regarding like course issues.
Yeah. Here another question from Nikolai. So what about SVGs? Security-wise, is it a good practice to use them served from Prismic? I'm not sure I fully understand your question. So basically, you can host a SVGs file on Prismic without any problem. Security-wise, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, because you are uploading like some markup to Prismic, this can lead like to some this sounds like some things that can link to some security issues. I think I need to check with the product team, but I think we made everything like possible like to actually like prevent any like injection or thing like that through SVG within Prismic, and there shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, I think we did everything.
Yeah, I think we are 2 minutes after the end. So if you have any more questions, feel free to just ask them and we can go through them right now. Also, do not hesitate to send anything, to send us any question or any remarks or comments to us directly by email or directly on the community forum. We are having next week the product meetup that you can also subscribe to. We are going to talk about new features that we are going to release soon. So make sure to subscribe if you are interested in. Also, we are super curious about the content of this session. It was our first SEO best practice content, and we'd like to know what did you think about it. So we're going to send you a quick form that you can fill in right after this session, so we can know like what did you think about this content. Was it relevant for you? Do you want to talk about maybe something more complex or like less complex? Like we're super curious to hear about that.
Yes. Thank you all for joining. Just addressing like quickly the question from Rhys. Indeed, SVGs are not set through the images.prismic.io subdomain because images, this point to ImageX, and ImageX is not handling like SVGs, so we are actually like indeed like saving it through our AWS S3 bucket. So that's why.
Yes. Okay. I think if we don't have any more questions, this is the end, right?
Yeah. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you all.